I'm chatting today with Syed Hamid. He's founder and CEO of Sophy.AI. He's a seasoned engineering leader with experience managing large, complex software projects and 18 years at Microsoft before founding his company, so he knows the drill. Syed, thanks so much, first of all, for joining me today on The Groove.
Thank you for having me, Peggy. Really appreciate taking the time to meet us. Thank you.
Now, I was reading about it. I was reading about the pain and the problem because this is on the list of to-do items that companies need to be thinking about again, now more than ever. And you describe Sophy.AI, your company, as a no-code test automation platform that enables end-to-end testing on real devices. And the beauty of it, so it seems, is simplicity because it's no code. So that means non-specialists, people like me, can handle this task of testing. How much of your company journey is autobiographical? I mean, based on your own pain, Syed?
Oh, if I would say 100%. I was fortunate to work at Microsoft for, as you mentioned, 18 years, and it started obviously my career in late 90s, fresh out of college, and I started as an individual tester. And back in the days, software will release in like every 2 year, every 3 year. And if you're releasing every year, you're a pretty good company on a good cadence, right? And we used to have this drill spending like 6 months just testing before you release the product, right? And you'll be surprised in 2012 or 2013 timeframe, Microsoft actually let go of tens and thousands of individual QA resources and become a unified engineering. So that triggered a lot of initial thinking. Okay, look, you can let people go, but work still needs to be done. And then archaic way of manually testing it and spending time on writing code got to be changed. So the more data that I look at it, I realize that hey, it's an ecosystem problem. And I decided to jump ship and started Sophy.
And it's interesting you mention the way software used to be shipped, created, shipped. And you think about it and you say, hey, everything has moved on. Everything has moved on. It's in the cloud, it's ambient, but still QA testing is done the same way it was back in the day when we were probably loading CDs into our PCs, or even remember the floppy disk. Does that
Yeah, yeah.
does that ring a bell?
It's surprising how we are taking things for granted, right? I mean, as you know, I remember my days in Microsoft. Office used to ship every 2 year, and it used to be, hey, it's like a release machine. Every 2 year on the dot, it will ship. Today, if you're shipping a week, you're already late. And it's and and not only that, imagine when you need to go buy the CD and install the latest version, and it takes days and hours to install it. Today the latest version are installed on your application, you didn't even notice it. So that fundamental shift have happened like at a magnitude. Yet we talk about manual testing. Yet we talk about, hey, I need to write code to go and test it in the world where automobile is driven autonomously. How do we change this industry? How do we scale? And literally, when we talk to a lot of engineering manager, they say they spend 30 to 40% of their resources just testing the software every day. And that's 70% of that task is most of the time repetitive task. And that's why I get so passionate about when I talk about this topic, is that look, that fundamentally got to be changed.
We do have an advancement that's exciting. You were talking about it has to change. Well, good news, it has, right? We have the advancement of AI, which I guess comes together a tremendous opportunity, but also a tremendous interest. I mean, ChatGPT and all this excitement, you probably don't have to educate quite as much as you used to.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at it, I mean, I tell the people, if you look at the kind of the progression, right? The 80s and 90s were all about manual testing. 90s and 2000 was about with Visual Studio, Eclipse, and integrated development environment. You hire engineer to write code to accelerate your engineering. Last 6, 7 years has been about no code, right? We believe that progression is about intelligent testing. So you're going through that, and no code is the building block for that. So ability for anyone in the team to go test their software without knowing the underlying details is the key. You're totally right, is that all the building blocks are in place. And what are the building blocks? Enormous data set, compute power so that people can process application faster and better and scaling and at cheaper price, instead of hiring a lot of people to go do that work. And especially with chat gpt coming in, is that all those aspects of the product life cycle is shrinking from weeks, months to days to hours to seconds now.
And soon it will be similar for testing because you're leading this charge in a way. And you yourself, I mean, let's talk about your company for a moment. You count Microsoft, which is interesting. I'd love to hear the story about that. It's like, hey guys, I'm going to go off and find my own company, but you're going to be buying from me. But in addition to Microsoft, 2,500 other companies and counting using your service. I mean, what's behind the popularity of your approach, do you think?
Two key things. We believe that anybody should be able to be productive in literally in minutes without installing any software or anything. So today, if you are building a new app, actually, you can go to, as with not being a software engineering background, you can actually go to Sophy.AI, sign up, use any app that you have used it, and create automation and run at scales all under half an hour. And that's what the key thing is, that simplicity and ease of use and making it easily accessible, right? Anybody in the world can go to Sophy.ai, sign up, register, and voila, you'll have the latest devices, for real physical devices available to you. You can run your application right then and there. And not only you can run there, but you can also generate all the issues. So if you are having a low performance or if you're having a bad visual quality, they'll all be automatically identified using machine learning and AI.
It is empowering. I mean, you talk about anyone can do this, and that always strikes a chord with me because knowledge is for sharing. It's supposed to be accessible, and it's not supposed to be that everyone has to go out and hire armies of geniuses. And so they'll have to be concerned maybe because they might not be necessary, but we are in this, we can be a part of this. But still, even though we're empowered, it's not a walk in the park, right? So, what does someone whose job is testing software have to do differently to adapt and thrive in this environment?
Before I kind of answer this specific one, let's kind of have a quickly look at day in a life of a tester, right?
You make it sound so dull, though. I don't know.
Yeah. Just as example. So if I need to test an application, right? If I need to
Yeah.
test an application, what happens to me if I'm a QA or a tester, right? I get a daily bill
Mhm.
in the morning or through my system. I actually see it, okay, what are the changes? Then I install in a particular device that takes probably half an hour, 15, 20 minutes to half an hour. Then I run my basic test, either automated or manually using my device physically. If I find
Mhm.
issues, I write tools to log all the information. And if you're a developer, I'll tell, hey, I find these issues. And the developer then look at it and come back. This cycle is repeated day in and day out, which is almost 60 to 70% of that work is manual. That's why we come into the picture. We are not creating just a tool. We are fundamentally changing how the QA happens as it relates to application. For example, instead of spending half an hour or 15 minutes or half an hour to get just an app installed on your device, latest bit, you'll get instantaneously under 15 seconds. And in our product, you can go to Sophy.ai and get any device under 15 seconds. That's the SLA. And if you find an issue, you can just say, hey, report issue, and it will track everything that happened, the last 10 steps that you performed, including log, including visual, everything that's available with a click of a button that you can share it with your developer and or product manager or a CX, customer experience person or the user experience person to kind of look at it and say what went wrong. So you don't have to go back and forth between the people. And that's where our approach is actually very useful, is that we are not saying, hey, go use the tool and train yourself. We are saying, look, you spend 60-70% of your daily time manually doing these tasks, and we are going to make that easy, simple, and make you more productive. What does that entail then? It means is that when a human or a QA in this case is removed from daily repetitive mundane tasks, it brings creativity, it brings ability to think. It brings also ability to solve the bigger and better problems. And that's what all the computers is all about. Is that how do we bring the efficiency and the right data at the right time so that people can focus on more important and productive things. And not only that, you do that while increasing your efficiency. We have seen is that if it's taking you 3 to 4 days to test your application and release it, with using our platform, you can actually do it under a few hours. So that's where we are trying to disrupt.
That is very disruptive. First, you're making more value out of time. Time is always a limited resource. So it's like, yes, I can save time. That is great. But I'm just thinking while you were speaking about the other benefit of unlocking some additional creativity. So you're not just saying, why is my app on the fritz? Or why are people dropping out of this app? Or why is this just not working? But you can share it with your team, your departments, your organization, everyone. This is what I did before this happened. So you can troubleshoot, problem solve, and also improve. I mean, you're working with so many different companies. Do you have maybe an example of that? A story of someone who said, hey, you know what, Syed? I used Sophy.AI, and here's what we did. We pushed the boundaries, and this is because of you.
Yeah. So we have a kind of a local company in Seattle area. They had quite a few testers worldwide, right, in Eastern Europe, in India, and other different places. And they were testing it manually because it's a fintech company, financial company, and it was taking them almost 3 to 4 days of manual testing it. And because of these inefficiency, right? And they had to actually ship, in some cases, they had to ship devices to different countries so that they can effectively test it. And because in some countries it's very difficult to get like iPhone 14 Pro Max, right? For various reasons, and it's not cost efficient. So it was taking them around 4 or 5 days to release their application. So in a 2 week cycle, you're spending 3, 4, or 5 days testing it. So it's significant, right? And when we come into the picture, we said, look, it's not about just testing the software. It's about bringing efficiency. So today, they can release it under a few hours, actually 2 hours, and they can do it pretty much on demand. That when they are ready, they can plug and say, look, go validate on 10 devices. Here's my set of tests, and be able to execute and do that. So we truly believe that, Ty, and that with the advancement in machine learning and AI, and the cloud compute resources, if I can't improve the efficiency by 10x, then hey, what's the point?
Let's look at where we are right now, because I'd like to run through an example where it makes sense and talk about an example because you're seeing so many of them, right? And when I think about e-commerce, it's the brand in the hand. It has to work. It's so important that the app works. But hey, it's an omni-channel experience. They have a website, they have an app, they have APIs with payment solutions, Venmo, PayPal, you name it. Constantly testing separately when this should all be part of a workflow, shouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and you'll be surprised. One of the top, we have almost 30,000 plus apps data that we have looked at it, or they are publicly available. Obviously, not the people who are our internal customer and pre-release build, but a build that are available publicly, right? And we have seen like so many things. As an example, according to Google report, 1 second delay in performance has a 27% decline in your app conversion. Yet, we cannot track this data in a consistent, easy, and simple way so that the engineering team or the developers or the business analysts have access to that data. And it's mind-boggling sometimes that, hey, this is like if it has a bottom line impact, especially in e-commerce world, in both app and web, and we don't track that. And that's where we believe that constant testing, right, with all the combination and permutation about how the API is behaving versus your client size versus network, a different network setting and different network device setting, how this is impacting your application, and during the testing exposing that data to business analysts so that they can say, oh, wow, actually, one second decline is having a significant dollar impact on on the companies that are that are running their e-commerce site or e-commerce apps.
That was also what got me very interested when we talked a little bit in prep, because I'm like, you are seeing 30,000 apps. You are, without knowing it, probably, you are writing a playbook because you're seeing, you have insights into performance, user experience, testing. You're seeing what is going on. And full disclosure, you're also going to give me some of it because I'm going to release some of this in an upcoming article in Forbes. But um, let's stay with e-commerce here and what you're seeing there, because that's a place where your customers are always testing, consumers are always shopping. So you have insights into one side of it. I'm looking at the user experience. You can bring it together in an anatomy of a great B2C e-commerce app. So looking at what you were looking at, privy to what you are, what did you discover? What are some of the key components of a great experience?
Yeah, so if you look at it, I kind of classify it into like a five areas, right? For a great app, user experience. You highlighted that, just how people are seeing it, think and feel about the experience. A user interface, right? There are a lot of tools out there, buttons, screens, toggles, icon, visualization. All those things comes into the user interface, and then you have the performance, and then the performance of how it's behaving, how it's showing things up, and reliability of the application. This is reliably running on all the component on your devices and various devices. And five, the personalization, right? You'll be surprised. One of the report I was reading is that before people install any new app, 70% of all the users actually look at the customer feedback before installing it. So any of these impact, actually, if it causes it, it has a direct implication on your ability to do it. And where the disjoint happens in the team most of the time is that UX design it, then developers they'll build it, and then the testers test it, and then you see sometimes this information gets not shifted properly or not shared properly between the team, and it's got lost. And the reason it get lost is that because everybody is using different tools to do that, right? So our intent is that, look, it's your customer, whether you are a UX engineer or a developer or a tester. It's you, it's your team, it's your app. So and we are enabling the data across all those 4 5 aspects so that people can make a decision in a transparent and effective way. And that's what we do, as you're rightly pointing out. You'll be surprised that just searching an item and doing the checkout, which is the most important aspect of any e-commerce app. Ability to find an item that I need to buy faster and easier, and be able to check out faster, right? That itself sometimes takes up to 12 steps. And you'll be saying, no, no, it cannot be. Actually, if you try out on your own and start counting, you'll be see very different. And you'll be surprised. I was reading another report is that when the single click checkout that Amazon did, that actually changes how fast people can actually go check out. So I think this cohesiveness of the whole experience or anatomy, as you talked about, right? The good app must be think that way, not in silos, and not across the organizational lines.
Just thinking about the 12 steps, and I'm thinking 12 clicks, we have a long way to go because it's all about friction free. It's all about convenience. And, I've seen the data, I remember it very well. Every click you add to your journey takes away 50% of your customers, And it's like, what are you getting when you have 12 clicks? So you're finding that out. Is that shocking? Is that something where what you'd want to be saying to the industry is this is the average? So you're probably not even aware of this. This is, as you said, it's different tools, different places, different departments. So visibility is a real problem. This is not getting necessarily to the people who can fix it.
Yeah, so I think that's why the fifth anatomy of the good application is the personalization, right? If I come for the first time and do it, it takes that time. But how do I learn from it? And that's why you see a lot of people say, okay, if you are a repeat customer, right? And you log into your app, then the experience becomes simpler and easier. So as an industry, especially in this case, people are very focused on personalization. And so that, in order to reduce the friction, I need to know what you intend to do, right? And if I know that, then I can prep the whole experience like that, right? That's where I believe the opportunity for the team is can look at have a very hard look at every single menu items you add, every single thing that you add. How can you reduce it? I've seen apps that have like if you click on the menu bar on the top right, they have like a 15, 20, or even more. Depending on how you prioritize it, it can have an impact and it can confuse people. So really honing into what's important for your own use case and really focus on the minimum, less friction, the better it will be.
And fewer items. That's probably a shock to a lot of people who are very precious about their design, and say, no, no, it looks great, it looks great. Yeah, but the button, I don't care what color is. There's just too many of them,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite thing is that in some of the apps, people use color with the accessibility with colorblind. People can't find the differences. So yeah, it looks good, but it needs to be factored in the other aspects of non-function functional aspects of the product.
So I know the data is coming. I'm excited about it. We're not here to name and blame. We just want the audience to understand where apps disappoint, where they can be improved, where they go on the fritz, how to handle and manage that performance. So without naming names, I won't ask you, but give me some examples. You talked about the one with the checkout. Maybe you have other examples from e-commerce
Oh
or
yeah, yeah.
even
I have
others.
one of the actually Fortune 500 companies, which is basically has a great UI, right? But what they did is that they designed the application and the images that they used was actually very heavy, right? Significant network payload. So when they were loading it, so every time the image goes through the network, obviously, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it's like several meg of image, right? That was slowing down the whole thing. And it's a very simple thing, right? Yet when the people don't have the data, they felt that it's a great design, and the loading was taking almost 2.5 seconds on the main page. And it's significant, which is a very simple thing. And people thought that, hey, I had a great design, which actually it was, but a very small aspect of, what should be the right size of that image caused a ripple effect of loading. And if I'm getting an application which is taking 2.5 seconds to load, and also not image looking really nice on different devices, I was actually saying, look, I'm not going to buy from this. So I think this is an example where all these things need to fit together and the data exposed so that people can make the right decision.
Talk about exactly that, exposing these issues, talking about problems, talking about solutions. It's all about visibility and sharing this information. And you're offering this, and you will be offering this in a more organized way, in a bit of a report, as it were. But at the same time, organizations, it's up to them to distribute this. How can they better democratize the knowledge, the access, the data that you're offering, and make certain that people in the industry, in the organization, have access to it and can act on it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we are trying to do is to kind of, get this data publicly and share it, right? So that people can provide their own feedback. Just like you have the code sharing, right? For example, you have the GitHubs of the world where people can upload their code and people can contribute and make that happen. Similarly, we plan on kind of doing the same thing where we can take all the data that we have on tens and thousands of apps and share the best practices and let people kind of contribute to it. Because if people can share it and get better and give you the feedback and in turn get the feedback from other, everybody will get better. So we plan on kind of sharing that kind of more publicly.
You've grown without a lot of marketing. Not a lot. It's getting to be more, and you're getting to be louder and prouder in the space. But your customers um, are your best advocates. They are the ones saying, "Hey, you need to check this out," because I've been reading and looking around in social. I mean, how do you approach that? Does this just happen because sometimes people just love things that are accessible and easy and they don't have to be a specialist? Or did you have some sort of way to turn customers into the advocates they are.
You rightly pointed out, we have kind of hired some great marketing leaders now post funding. I'm super proud of them and the work that they're doing. Our approach has been very focused on the engineering productivity team, right, or the engineering teams, and they have a pretty unique characteristics. One, they want to try out themselves, and two, they actually want to share things with others. If they are doing it, they tell their team and say go, and they're also vocal about, if things are not going as planned. For us, we have been kind of working more closely with customers, right? We believe that, hey, the one happy customer at a time, and we don't have a kind of a focused effort on kind of exposing that, but they do it on their own. We get a lot of recommendation and referrals from existing customers. Quite a few customers basically say, hey, I tried this, and that's what developer does. I tried this. Hey, other people also try it. So that's where we are seeing the adoption as well. Obviously, not to mention everyone uses Google. So the SEO and Google search plays a key role as well for our growth.
Just to be also clear, because people will be saying, yes, I am not a specialist. This could be interesting. And we also know about the benefits of no code approaches. Be very clear. Just tell me a little bit about your business model, pricing, what this is like.
Yeah, so we price based on usage. So it's a compute time, just like you get a computer or a VM in cloud. Similarly, we charge in minutes. So compute time is usage. We don't charge per user. The more you use, the more you pay. Um, and our minimum SKU starts with 549 today. And give you 2,500 minutes that people can try out and do it. And it's all kind of trial. We also believe that, hey, don't pay us if you don't get 10x productivity gain. You can go try out yourself, see in few hours, you'll get the results. Happy, and then buy it. Is that, it's all about creating value, and it's all about creating what we believe in, and which is, hey, engineering productivity, 10x productivity. If you gain that, you will be gladly paying for it.
And that's quite an offer. It's like, well, if you don't like it, not just you don't like it, your money back. No, you don't like it. If you don't reach 10x increase in productivity efficiency, then we can talk about getting your money back. But who doesn't want to reach that? And that's quite an offer because you are very convinced of that metric.
Yeah, and you see, and the reason is really because, as I mentioned, right, you're spending days and days testing it manually. It's and the industry got to move forward with that, and we have to. I mean, yeah, it's not an easy problem, by the way. It's not. It's a very difficult problem, and that's why we have been at it for 5+ years. But we believe that time is ripe with the whether you see the GPT coming in and Chat GPT work coming in, then advancement in machine learning and AI components, and then also the compute time or the compute price going down. I think these are all the enablers. So I think time is really right now to enable that kind of efficiency gain.
Well, if it's about turning customers into advocates, I have to say I am a bit of a fan here. I will be honest about that. And the other thing I'm excited about with you, Syed, is your vision of the future, because you're talking about all of these pieces coming together and the continuum of testing. It was manual, now it's AI, but you see a future where it's the human is there, but maybe at an entirely different level, co-creating or creating experiences on top of the data and the insights that AI provides. Tell me about that future and how near is that future?
It's very near.
Great. It's good news for
And
everyone.
would love to talk to you more about as we get closer to it. Right now, we are just finishing few things. Um,
Oh,
um,
okay. So it's
yeah,
not flying cars. This is the real deal.
it's a real deal, and really,
Okay.
and we believe my one of my investor deck had one of the things by 2025 we'll have intelligent test automation coming in. What does intelligent test automation or intelligent testing means? Intelligent testing has 4 or 5 key pillars: ability to identify what's changed, ability to identify what do I need to test based on the changes, ability to identify, what went wrong and why, and the ability to tell where to go fix and how. So all these 4 or 5 elements are actually much closer than we think automatically, right? It's not just any human intervention, especially with GPT, generative AI components. Like the example that you give, e-commerce. Take e-commerce; it's less than 10 patterns. Checkout, cancellation, search. If you log in, if you do it, it's less than 10 patterns across all e-commerce apps, right? So we should be able to use the GPT to be able to generate tests automatically, execute on it, run it, report it with minimal human intervention. We're not there yet, but as an entrepreneur, we have to dream, and I believe that we have, especially with GPT and accessibility to the compute and machine learning algorithms. Now I think we are much closer.
That is a very positive view. And it's great news that it's not, off there somewhere while we talk about it. It's very close, and that's going to make it all the more important, accessible, because this is testing. Testing is almost at a point where you would say it's everybody's business.
Yep.
It's nobody, ownership of the customer, the CX, the customer relationship, everything, the communications through the app, that belongs to the organization now, and everyone has input into it, and you're making that possible. So I just want to thank you for your work, but also for coming here to share it today. Thank you so much, Syed.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. I truly enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Booking an encore, booking a date when it's ready and it's human intervention is not in the picture, then you're back on the show.
Yeah, thank you.